China is ready for a massive missile barrage to cripple the U.S. China is preparing for a global war and has been readying its military for a massive preemptive missile strike against the U.S., it has been revealed. We've got some very interesting information on China. Satellite imagery reveals the superpower's huge missile testing grounds have been laid out to mimic American military bases in the Pacific. Now, of course, we covered this recently. Missile targets seem to have been drawn up to resemble airfields, destroyers, aircraft carriers, and fuel depots. How real is this fight right now? How real is this possibility? This was published on February 9th. Well, this was published today. Multipolar Agenda. Communists call for the New World Order. China is set to replace the USA as dominant superpower. Subtly, in the background of day-to-day life, a full-blown war has raged. The war isn't over turf, but rather power and control. For the last several decades, the USA has dominated as the world-leading superpower. But now, Communist China is ready to change that. Communist China is ready to change that. Throughout the early 2000s, the world was not in a state of multipolarity. Rather, the world was in a state of bipolarity, where China and the USA dominated and balanced each other out. But as time raged on, other countries began to step up, thus creating the increasingly unstable world we live in today. The multipolar world order, as we've discussed many times. While the selection of Donald Trump to the world signals that the USA is looking to turn inwards rather than outwards for global dominance and control, several other countries are set to pounce on the rest of the world for their spot, one of which being China. Now, of course, this is all playing out, literally like a playbook. We can see what is going to happen. You have China readying for war. You have the U.S. beefing up its nuclear arsenal. U.S. President Donald Trump said he wanted to rebuild the nuclear arsenal to ensure it was at the top of the pack, arguing the U.S. has fallen behind in nuclear capabilities. In an exclusive interview to Reuters, Trump said he was very angry at North Korea's ballistic missile tests and said that destroying U.S. missile defense systems in Japan and South Korea was among the options to counter it. Deploying, not destroying, excuse me. But that there's talks of a lot more than just that. Trump said that Russia has deployed a new cruise missile in violation of an arms control treaty, and that he would bring up the issue with the Russian President Vladimir Putin if and when they meet, Reuters reported. China could solve the North Korea crisis very easily if they want to by pressuring Pyongyang to step back from bellicose actions, Trump said. So, of course, that's what Trump's doing right now. You have China totally preparing for a massive missile barrage to cripple the U.S. But here's the other thing that's happening. China and the EU are aligning themselves. According to Chinese state media, the leadership of the communist nation is also undergoing a foundational shift, in that they are altering Beijing's posture toward the rest of the world. While the USA returns to nationalism, communist China is turning to globalism, and that is something the socialist European Union and countries alike are all wanting. Simultaneously, there are operatives within the USA, such as George Soros, who are attempting to overthrow the nationalist movement and return to the globalist agenda. Now, this right here is it's an audio clip. We've got the video on one of the other articles, but for this one I use the audio. Soros openly calls for the death of the USA and for the rise of China, and he calls for a new world order. In this 4-minute clip, you don't want to miss this. Come play this right now. I'm serious. Pause the video. Go to our website, ChristianTruther.com. Come listen to this. It's amazing this guy is still walking free. The signaling. Recently, Xi Jinping, president of Communist China, openly stated his desires for global dominance. Just last month at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, Xi mounted a vigorous defense of world trade. At the same time that the Trump administration was promising to withdraw from a major trade deal among Pacific nations that notably excluded China. Xi's speech was one of many in recent history, where he has asserted the desire for China to play a part in shaping the order of world where the economic and other ties between nations are less regional and more global. However, Xi's most recent remarks at a national security seminar in Beijing proved to be the most telling of China's plans. Xi told attendees that China needs to step in to guide the development of a new world order taking place of the U.S. So they want to systematically cut out the U.S. and have China as the head of the new world order. Communist China. Folks, it's all aligning. It is all aligning. You've got the EU and NATO and the UN all falling into this communist agenda. And of course, that was the plan since the beginning. But it's all taking shape right now. Openly, within that statement, China declared a covert sort of war against the U.S. Previously, the U.S. has engaged in open proxy wars with Russia, but given the crises in the South China Sea, it is rather evident that China and the U.S. will begin globally sparring shortly. And whether it be a proxy war or an open war, we have yet to see. Of course, there's all sorts of geopolitical warfare going on right now. Of course, economic warfare and so on and so forth. But I'm talking about either a proxy war or either an open war will break out. Either way, that's just what it's coming to, as you can tell. Otherwise, let's continue. The United States may no longer want to be a provider of global security and public goods, instead pursuing unilateralism and even nationalist foreign policy, he said, according to a state-run news website. The Xinhua state news organization quoted Xi saying the overall direction of multipolarization of the world. This is Xi, the president of China, the communist president of China. The overall direction of multipolarization of the world, the globalization of the economy, and the democratization of international relations has not changed. No matter how the international situation changes, we must maintain our strategic steadiness, strategic confidence, and strategic patience. Coordinating development and security, combining principles with tactics, and taking the strategic initiative in China's own hand. The takeover. China is openly calling for a world restructuring, which is formally called Beijing's Two Guides policy. The communist nation is stressing international security as well as a reorganization of the world order. This is what we've been telling you about for many weeks now. The multipolar world order is being constructed currently. When the very minute that they're finished with this construction, something catastrophic will potentially, I'm not making predictions, this is just how they say it will happen. How the global think tanks say it will happen. So it's not my prediction. Don't mistake me. All I'm doing is showing you through research what they're planning. They've planned this multipolar world order, and of course, it's very unstable, which leads to warfare and things like that. After that, nations collapse, and of course, they're going to build their new world order out of chaos. Okay. I forgot where I was. Oh yeah, Two Guides policy. The communist nation is stressing international security as well as a reorganization of the world order. And Beijing is broadcasting this openly. In history, when one country attempts to overtake another, whether it be for land or influence, war ensues. The communist nation of China just practically called for that. Within a multipolar world order, alliances shift constantly. And with this stage of world restructuring, alliances are shifting. The biggest example to date, the European Union is seemingly aligning itself with communist China rather than the US of A. I imagine if it goes, we're still in this sort of decision phase. We're going to see if they're going to, we're going to see if the EU returns to a nationalist ideology, or if it goes with the communist in the way it's been going. Or globalist, excuse me. We'll see what happens. We haven't seen the whole picture play out yet. I'm not saying where I think it's going to go either way, but I'm just saying it's on the fence still. We have the Brexit, obviously that threw it into nationalism, and of course we have the other countries who are remaining globalist. So we're either going to see one of two things happen. This is what you can bet on, because Germany and France have already declared this and signed secret documents for it, which we've shown you. They're going to somehow bring about the destruction of the EU and create the European superstate. The European superstate is going to have its own currency and its own navy, and not its own navy, but own armed forces. Within that, that's another superpower. You see how this is all playing out? Totally multipolar, and of course, totally unstable. The United Nations Nations often has fashioned communist China for its work regarding climate change and population control. Now, Xi Jinping calls for a new world order, one that can only rise from the ashes of the USA and the ashes of a multipolar world order. The new world order is based in communism, and the communist nation of China now wants to lead and create it. How ironic. Don't you think? Make sure you don't miss the latest thing that we produce. Go to ChristianTruther.com. God bless and carry on.